Three, two, one. You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great day whenever you're checking this out. I'm really excited. I've got an interview with director, producer, writer, Jordan Ross. Jordan, how you doing today, sir?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Pleasure.
So before we get into the Tutor, which I had the privilege of watching over this past weekend, and I definitely have questions about that. I really want to ask you first about True Life, because that's something that was a real big part of my life growing up, and I still think that's one of the best things MTV has ever produced. Kind of talk to me about your time doing that, and then making the jump from doing something like that to going ahead and doing feature film.
Sure. I mean, I started out in commercials and I kind of never intended to do documentaries. And then I just got a call one day out of the blue. I just graduated film school and they asked if I'd be interested in doing a documentary for MTV. And I thought, I was living in New York at the time, and I remember it was in near Philadelphia. And I said, what do I have to do? I said, you have a camera? I do. Here's an address, go interview someone, and let's see how this turns out. Let's see how this goes. And so it was really by kind of happenstance. And I went, and I remember within 20 minutes of being there and sitting down with someone I had just met and setting up a camera and interviewing them, they were opening up their entire life to me and telling me about their deepest, darkest thoughts, desires, dreams. And I thought, this is really interesting. So that kind of set me on the path of doing that series, and it turned out really well, what I filmed. And then I was kind of intrigued as well. And so something that I really had no plan of doing, I was just kind of thrown into, and ended up loving it. And that was one of the things where suddenly, I was coming up with the topics myself. So that intrigued me even more, because then I got to pitch and do show ideas that really kind of spoke to me. And I don't know if you remember at the time, True Life was pretty hard hitting. Like, we were dealing with
Yes, it was.
Dealing everything from medical conditions to drug addictions to all these little subcultures of teen life, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, I had a good time doing it.
Were there any topics that you pitched that MTV was like no?
Sorry, I just got a new puppy.
No. Oh, you're all good. My cat is back here sleeping. I'm hoping.
I just got a puppy, so he's running the house. That they were like, no. I mean, nothing was off limits. Nothing was kind of out of bounds. And I think that at least initially and early on, things that were more cutting edge were widely accepted and preferred. I mean, as the show kind of progressed, then it became something that I think maybe kind of like leaned heavily into relationships and things like that. But initially, off the bat, and some of the people are still some of my best friends, some of the people I'd filmed over the years.
Oh, wow.
But none of that was off limits. It was kind of like, tell us what you think is intriguing, what you'd like to cover in life. Like I said, I just graduated film school too. So I think that at the time I was kind of like the fingers on the pulse of like, you're not that far off from being a teenager yourself. And you're kind of thinking like, okay, what are some topics that interest me? So, I've filmed a wide array and enjoyed it, and really kind of came to love every subject that I did.
Is there a subject you look back on with like fondness? Because I'll say myself, there are definitely those reviews where I kind of go, it's almost out of sight, out of mind. It's like, okay, I did that. That's done. Past me, move on. But every so often I'll get those kind of questions. I'm like, what about, what's something you think back on? I'm like, this review kind of stands out, this one kind of stands out? Are there any of the episodes where you kind of go, like,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And main not just the episodes, but the people that I came in touch with. And like I said, for example, two that still stick out to me today. I did one on kids with Tourette syndrome. That
I
stuck
remember
out.
that.
Yeah, that stuck out because it was just so hard hitting, and it's something that I didn't know much about at the time. And then once you start kind of getting into it, um, you develop this level of empathy and compassion, and intrigue. One of the subjects we had, this girl Alyssa, still remember she went to Stanford to get brain surgery to try to to try to quote unquote cure Tourette's. And the other person who I've still one of my best friends and came to my wedding, and somebody who I'm still looking at, I still talk to weekly and looking to work with more, is this guy Noah Galloway, who was a sergeant in the army, and in 2005 he got blown up by an IED in Iraq, and he lost an arm and a leg. And he went on after that to just do amazing, incredible things. So, you see this person who you meet who's working out at the local YMCA in Alabama at 2 a.m. because he doesn't want anyone to see him and his, what happened to him during war. And then you see his progression in life, where over the last decade, the guy's climbing like Mount Kilimanjaro on the weekend with friends and other disabled vets. And like he
That's
was
so cool.
yeah, he was on Dancing with the Stars. He almost won. So it's just to see that kind of like progression in life where somebody just won't give up and won't take no for an answer and doesn't make any excuses. I think that's kind of what speaks to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
So getting to the film, I gotta admit, man, you had some people in this. You got Garrett Hedlund, which when I saw his name attached to this, I was like, oh, okay. I was like huge fan of his. And then you get Noah Schnapp from this, indie show Stranger Things, which which, it's done kind of well. Talk to me about like the cast and how why Ryan King's script was something that like drew you to this project.
Um, well, I'll talk about Ryan's script first. Ryan had lived this life. He was a tutor to privileged youth in New York City. So he had been in this world, and he had some pretty outlandish stories. So like where he started from with this script and that like kind of idea of like, I have had this experience. Now let me expand on it and kind of have some fun with it. That's something that I thought, spoke to him very personally, which also spoke to me very personally, because talking to him about, just what he'd been through and that kind of like progression as a tutor, it's a fascinating world,
Yeah.
in case you haven't experienced it. And then aside from that, just like you said, the genre, I love. I've always loved that Hitchcockian kind of like slow burn of trying to figure out what's going on, who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist, who's telling the truth, why things are taking place the way they are. So it's kind of coming together like this little puzzle that you're putting together. And then in terms of the talent, yeah, we got really fortunate and blessed. I think that, going through each one of our main casts, like Garrett Hedlund is one of the finest actors, performers, musicians, human beings, you'll ever meet. He's just one of a kind. And his dedication like speaks volumes. He's not the person that just showed up like the day before we started filming. He's the guy that, he went to location and said, when I got there, like a month or two early.
Oh wow.
He's the
Okay.
guy, yeah, he's the guy that got into character, whether it was mentally or emotionally or physically by altering his appearance, whether it be his looks or his wardrobe. Like he just wanted to really fulfill that role and be that part. And he was taking, practice SAT tests, and he didn't have to do any of that, but
Yeah.
he was doing it because he's just the consummate professional. Same thing with like Noah Schnapp. Like Noah, I had to keep reminding myself, because we started by filming the end of the movie first, and like these are the most dramatic scenes, right?
Oh, okay.
And no, not by choice, by necessity, by scheduling and locations and where we had. So, but I keep reminding myself like Noah would come in and do dramatic take after take and performance after performance, and whether it required him to like drop a tear or whatever it was that he was doing, like I had to remind myself the kid at the time, he's 17 and he's a senior in high school. And just to have that level of like emotional gravity and depth was really impressive. And seeing those two kind of go head to head in a lot of scenes also is just it made my life and my job a lot easier because they're pros and they get into character and they stay in character while we're filming those scenes. And then to have someone like Victoria, who I think most people know from like Lighter Fare, come in and do really dramatic performances also. It was awesome. Like she came in and I remember the very first shot of hers was not to give too much away, but a very dramatic, probably the most dramatic moment in the film, and just having her like staring into the lens of the camera and giving that gripping performance. Like after that scene, I remember looking at Garrett and we both kind of nodded. All right, let's go.
We're good.
Level, yeah.
I without giving too much away, there's one scene in a restaurant, and it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable. In that scene, I was like, oh my God, this is so like, I have to give you so much credit for that, because the way you shot that and the way you captured everyone's expressions in that moment, given what's happening, it's such a, oh crap, really sort of moment. And
I'm happy it had that effect on you, because that's the goal, right? The goal is to make everyone uncomfortable for that particular scene, from the viewer to like the participants in the scene, to have them kind of be on edge.
And since we've only got a couple more minutes here, a couple more questions for you. What was the biggest, was there anything on the cutting room floor that you went, oh, I wish we could have gotten that in, but it just maybe didn't fit the tone or didn't kind of vibe in the way you're
How much time do we have left? I got a lot. Yeah, I got a lot.
Give me two examples.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just an overall like thing. Like the reality is, like, it was a fast shoot. And whenever you're doing like an independent film on a faster schedule on a tighter budget, like you really have to pick and choose what you're going to cover and how you're going to cover it. And so I think always without fail, there's the desire to get more or to do more or to have, extra days or whatever it is. And the reality is you gotta make work with what you have.
Yeah.
So as much as, I would have loved to, I was talking about it earlier, love to have like an extra day to get just that one more shot or just that one more scene, or like, it'd be great to have right in this moment a little breath of, I'm proud of what we did and what we were able to accomplish, because it wasn't easy. And like a lot of what you saw, especially on the locations, like we didn't have those a few days before filming. And that goes for most of the locations. So to like get down to Birmingham, Alabama and around Birmingham and use that as essentially New York City and like kind of like the Long Island Hamptons vibe to make that work. I'm proud of that. And I think that we accomplished that. And to do it also, like I said, with limited resources and really not having our locations, let's say a few days before. So like we're stepping on a set and we're saying, all right, like this is somebody's house. We're gonna be filming here tomorrow. I have this shot list, but this room doesn't look like what my shot list looks like. So you have to kind of navigate and adjust on the fly. You end up doing it. You end up making it work and thinking, okay, I'm prepared to have all this ready. Now let's kind of throw it out the window. And here's the real location we're going to be working with. And what are we going to use? And I think a lot of that comes out in the film. Like, there's certain scenes, like it wasn't written in the script, but like there's a pool table in the room where Garrett's staying at the house he's tutoring at. He used that as kind of a prop. There was an amazing garage with, 50 or so old vintage motorcycles like
so
that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not something that we have in the script, but something you get there and you look at and you go, wow, this not only screams like some sort of wealth, but it also screams being very cool, right? And it's very novel. So it's something you definitely want to like capture at least for a shot or two and kind of get in the script. So I think you just work with what you have.
Fair. Last question.
Sure.
Next project, like, what are you looking to do? Are you looking to stay in the horror genre? Because it's more thriller horror. Are you looking to do
Yeah.
something a little lighter? What are you kind of thinking?
I'm looking two things. I'm looking to do another project, Garrett. I'd be love to do that. We're talking about something because, like I said, he's one of the best human beings and actors I've ever seen and worked with. So we're looking at a few things right now, and that person I mentioned a minute ago, Noah Galloway, who was the true story of the Army sergeant who got blown up, went on to accomplish amazing things. I just wrote that, so that's a story on his life.
Nice.
Went out with that script and yeah, get some positive feedback on that. So maybe that's a true story that deals with drama, conflict, and war next as well.
Okay. Jordan, thank you so much for making the time, sir. Before I let you go, if you could please tell people if you have social media, where they can find you, where they can watch the film, all that jazz.
Oh man, see, I'm not big on social media, but our film comes out Friday, March 24th. I know we're in AMC's kind of nationwide on a limited release, so I think definitely look at your local AMC to see if it's there. And in terms of social media, I would direct you for sure to like Victoria and Noah and Garrett's social media. I know how they have if not hundreds of thousands, millions and tens of millions of followers. And I know those stuff. Yeah.
Jordan, again, thank you so much. I will definitely email once the review is up, because like I said, I watched this past weekend, but I enjoyed the film, enjoyed talking to you, and again, thank you so much for making the time.
Gosh, it was great talking to you.
You take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.